What you see as a success is not what God sees as success. If that was case, for life of Joseph, you call success as the one Joseph who became a prime minister. That is success according to all our definition. But shall I tell you something truth? When God saw life of Joseph, for him the success was Hebrews chapter 11 verse 22. When Jesus was writing, the Holy Spirit God was writing about the life story of Joseph, only one thing stood by faith, by faith, by faith. Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel and gave commandment concerning his bones. What mattered to God, what mattered to eternal calendar, what mattered to the eternal reward system is not the success as a prime minister, is not the success as overcoming temptation, but it is the faith, and it is the faithful work of Joseph which stood the test of time, and God rewarded it abundantly on the day that God wrote the words in the holy scriptures in the golden letters. My dear brother and sister, that's why today morning, if Moses felt he was a failure because he couldn't go to the promised land, why did God make Matthew chapter 17? He wanted Moses to be there till the day comes wherein God is going to judge us based on our faithfulness. Absolutely, we have no right to come to conclusion of success or failure, and this is what can set you free. Be faithful, do what God has given you. That's why in Matthew chapter 25 verse 21 and 23, God was talking about the next world. He is going to make rulers. When you know that our journey, Christian life is a journey. It's not a single point testing. It's a journey. Success or failure, so-called event in our life, is just a means, a stepping stone for a bigger good of eternity. When this is a stepping stone for eternal cause, understand these lines. For this so-called servants who made 2 to 4 and 5 to 10, for them the bigger cause was God wanted to make them rulers in the millennial rule. God wanted them to rule in a bigger place, in a bigger capacity. For that, a smaller testing of faithfulness. That's it. No success, no failure. None of them bother to us. As children of God, our responsibility is only just to be faithful. Don't worry about the results. Let God take care of it. Let God take care of it. So let me tell you, your results are not declared as a one-time event. If that was the case, Billy Graham, as all of you know, the most powerful speaker the history, in fact the world has ever known, he reached millions and millions of people on his first pioneering ministry. When he was given the first challenge to preach, you know what? He prepared 4 sermons. First experience are very much tricky experiences. He prepared 4 sermons, and he was given the opportunity in so-called fear of failure and the stress. You know what? Within 10 minutes he preached all the 4 sermons. In 10 minutes he preached all the 4 sermons. Probably you might have understood, in the pressure he could not even do what he wanted to do. Do you call him failure? If he left it then absolute failure, right? Had he left it that day, I'll tell you, today world would have missed the most powerful evangelist the history has ever known. Millions and millions of people drawn to Christ. Don't come to a conclusion just by a single event, my dear brother. Don't come to a conclusion by a single event. If you're aiming for perfection and you're afraid of fear of failure, both the things are wrong. Just do what God gave you faithfully. That's it. That's it matters. God has His own reward system preparing for you for this utter glory. That's why George Muller made this prayer as he was about to die. Lord, 63 years and 8 months. I prayed for this so-called friend of mine to be born again. You are sending me as a failure. Won't you change him, Lord? Prayer was not answered. He breathed his last. For George Muller, it was a failure. He said, Lord, I am going as a failure. I could not bring this man to Christ. As a failure, he felt he was going. But let me tell you the other side of the story. On his funeral, before the funeral began, as thousands of people were testifying about George Muller, and about how God was using George Muller, about the real God, you know what? That so-called man for whom he prayed for 63 years and 8 months, weeping with tears, he cried and said, Lord, I want to surrender my heart unto you. I am a wretched sinner, Lord. I want your saving grace. And you know what? On the burial and the funeral journey, he was the one who was a powerful witness for the glory of God as a mighty convert after the death of this great man of God, George Muller. If success was for Abraham, thousands of people as stars, if he was supposed to see, before his death he hasn't seen so many people. But now today, cut the story, there are millions of people as Abrahamic covenant. And in eternity, if you start and stand and stare and see, our bigger vision is eternity. And eternity on the day of judgment, that is the day we need to be concerned about, whether success or failure. It depends upon our faithfulness. Let us not be swayed, let us not be disturbed, let us not be heartbroken by the events that are happening around our lives. That's why, as we all know the story of Ray Kroc, he tried his efforts in real estate, he failed as a miserable failure. After so many years, he started one chain of outlets. Today, most successful outlet, the McDonald's, he is the founder of it. In fact, Colonel Sanders, for 70 long years, he failed and failed and failed. He made his life wretched. Thousands of failures in his life. And finally, as a chef, he made his own recipe. KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. History today, the entire globe is impacted by that. My dear brother, I just want to encourage all the children of God. Just because one event, because you evaluated with the wrong evaluating system and you forgot the rewarding system, let me tell you something. You cannot, absolutely have no business to conclude the success or failure here, because it is only manifested in the day of judgment, and that day will decide. Till then, be faithful. Don't be afraid of fear of failure, and may this truth and Spirit of God set you free, and the spirit of boldness may be manifest in your life, so that the abundance of life can be experienced.